Since 1976, the National Urban League has annually published the State of Black America report that looks at inequality in America. And I'm so glad to have, I'll just say, my friend with me, President of National Urban League, Marc Morial, to talk about this report that was just released.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate the chance to talk to you.
It's always good to speak with you, especially about this report that comes at such a crucial time. Right, we are right on the heels of an election, and so many things are being overturned, and people are really digging their heels in this fight. When we talk about this report, just one word off the top, one word to describe what is the state of Black America.
I think I may need to squeeze it to.
I'll give you three.
Not on my watch.
Not on my watch.
I think really encapsulates the fact that we cannot allow the retrenchment.
Okay.
We have to battle against retrenchment. There's an attack on democracy and voting. It's a serious attack, and it's gotten some traction in some parts of America. It just make it harder for people to participate.
Can we be real? You said traction. We're talking about over 400.
Yeah, we're talking lots of traction in about half the states.
Yes.
Half the states have basically decided we're going to suppress the vote. We're going to purge voters. We're going to close polling places. We're going to make it harder for people to register to vote because we really don't want everybody voting. The essence of it is we don't want everybody voting. We can control the outcome if we limit the people who vote. The attack on democracy is now extended to in Texas, where the state says we're going to take over the administration of the election system in Harris County, which is where Houston is. It's a usurpation of power. It's a coup. It's a legislative coup by Greg Abbott and the Texas state legislature. It has no other purpose except to limit and make it more difficult for the people of Harris County to vote. The attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion is an attack on jobs. Attack on job opportunities and business opportunities, and the notion that we have a right to the American dream, as does every other American.
Absolutely.
And so the state of Black America says, let's celebrate the success we've made as a country since 1964, but let's recognize that this progress is threatened now to a greater extent than at any time in recent memory.
When we look at this report, and I know this year, marking the 48th edition, is really looking at the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And when I read the report, I saw the number 75.7, which is the Equality Index. Break that down for people.
So this index, what does this mean? So let's take an example. There are 300 pieces of data. One is the unemployment rate. Black rate, white rate. Home ownership rate, Black home ownership rate, white home ownership rate. And it compares them. So it treats the white rates, which are usually higher, as one, and then the Black rate as a percentage of that. So when you average all of this, it's about 75 to 76%, meaning Black Americans are missing out on 70 or 25% of opportunity.
And that's a lot.
It's significant, and the progress we've made has been slow. It's been difficult.
Dismal.
At this rate, we're 180 years away from parity. So the numbers are important, not to do anything other than to help people have a conversation that's fact-based.
Let's talk about what is the good that we have seen.
We've seen tremendous good. We've seen doors open in corporate America, in higher ed, in political engagement and involvement. We've seen progress in that areas. And look, so the Civil Rights Act of '64 was not just about Black people. It was also about women.
Right, absolutely.
And it was also about all historically left out communities. The animating muscle of it was to bring Black people into the economic mainstream. But it has played a role on behalf of so many other communities.
We have President Biden is going to deliver his State of the Union address this week on the 7th. What are some of the things that you want to hear coming out of that address? And do you feel that this administration has kind of kept to its promises and what they would do with the Black community?
It's pretty clear when you look at the promises and his performance, he's kept a significant number of his promises. I mean, it would be wholly inaccurate to suggest he is not, with some unfinished business. So what does he need to do? Defend democracy. Come out strong for a new Voting Rights Act, a new Freedom to Vote Act. Number two, he needs to make a strong statement on diversity in corporate America and in higher ed by embracing the idea that everyone has access to the American dream, equal and unfettered, and that history does in fact matter. Thirdly, he's got to renew ensuring that his economic blueprint, which is a long-range plan, he's got to help Americans understand that his economic blueprint was not a quick fix. It included some immediacy, but it included long range, building roads, bridges, airports, ports, and highways. That takes a long time. To change the manufacturing sector, to create more jobs, that takes time. Renewable energy takes a long time. What this president did in the economic arena, in this area that I work in, is he's created long-term. A lot of presidents do little quick fixes, pass a piece of legislation and say, oh, it may help the economy. But when you have a long-term effort to restructure the economy, bring back manufacturing jobs that are better paid, create union jobs in the construction space, but ensure that locked out communities have a chance for those jobs. When you talk about building a renewable energy sector and an energy sector for the 21st century, that's long-term.
What are the areas, before we wrap up, what are some of the areas that you feel like we have come up short?
So I think we need, democracy and voting rights. I think notwithstanding the effort until Congress, and this is not just on the president, we need the president's force, we need his muscle, we need his voice, but it's up to the Congress to pass. And so we've got to recognize and encourage people in our community that voting for president is not enough. You got to vote for these other offices because they count, they make a difference. We elect a president, not a king, a commander-in-chief, not an emperor. This is what we do in this country. And so president's important, but the president doesn't rule by edict. Right. Doesn't rule by directive.
Frederick Douglass said, just to end, power
concedes nothing,
right? Without demand. So as we end, what is the demand? What is the demand that, and the action plan that Urban League is putting forth?
Democracy. We demand a defense of democracy. We demand, if you will, the promotion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We demand efforts to defeat poverty. I mean, it's those 3 Ds, defend democracy, demand diversity, and defeat poverty. This, to me, is the vision. And components of the president's plan can drive this and fit into this with great intention. But this president, and I've been watching presidents for a long time, most presidents are very squeamish about even making promises. This president did make promises, and he was very, very intentional about keeping many of them. But remember, 3 years in, it's not a final report. There's a lot more to be done. And we're hoping that in his State of the Union, he'll reaffirm his commitments to the things we've just talked about.
Marc Morial, thank you so much for speaking with us. Where can people go to actually go through the report and digest this?
stateofblackamerica.org is where you can get the report. It's free, it's downloadable. Check it out.
And follow us. And follow. We will have all of the links down at the bottom of this. But thank you so much for talking with us.
All right, thank you.
All right.